All right, folks. I think it's time.
So we have to.
Watch, play, read is done. That means we are on to the Acolyte Episode 7 choice. Now, when I say Episode 7, it's really like, I'm going to use a movie I love as an example for something I hate. It is like Lion King 1.5, where you're seeing it from Timon and Pumbaa's
Perspective.
vantage point, but
Yeah.
you're seeing a great movie from a great vantage point. This, you're seeing the worst episode 3, from a different vantage point. It's like, why would you do that?
Steve,
You're just making us relive the worst fucking thing.
It's
again.
so much worse than that. Steve, it's so much worse
You
than
mean the Animal Crossing Jedis in the beginning doing
metal
detectors?
No, we have to talk about this. We 100% have to talk about this. Okay. Everybody out there, I'm going to give you 3 points. 3 points to remember from 3 different pieces of canon that were developed by 3 different creative minds. First and foremost, we got to honor where we came from. Empire Strikes Back. Luke is training with Yoda. There's this dark, creepy cave in the woods. Luke's like, what's in there? Yoda's like, you shouldn't go in there. But he knows that Luke has to go in there. So he's like, just don't believe anything you see. Place is crawling with dark side. It's trying to scare you. You have to be ready. You're not ready. And Luke goes in, and we all know what happens. Vader, slice. Oh no, it's Luke. Okay, so that's one. A little bit more modern. The Last Jedi. Let's take from Disney's own tree, because that movie is still trying to be parts of the original trilogy, the Holy Trilogy, kind of refashioned into a new form. So Rey goes into this cave because there's a lot of Force energy coming out of the cave. And she's like, oh shit. And then she sees a bunch of versions of herself and then snaps, and then the rest of that movie happens, which is dramatically less consequential to everything that happens in Empire Strikes Back. And then, let's be real fun here. Let's get an animated show. All right? So Star Wars Rebels, which is the prequel to Ahsoka.
Yes.
They talk a lot about how there are these points in the universe where the Force is especially strong. And this is usually where the Jedis have built temples. But even on wild planets, you can still find these incredibly strong Force points where a being voiced by Tom Baker explains to the resident Jedi, who has been blinded and now can only see via the Force, that the Force is greater than just what the Jedi know and what the Sith know. It goes beyond that. There's all kinds of elements to it, right? At no point in any of these movies or shows did anyone have a metal detector. Nobody had to use their tricorder to take samples. Nobody was stuffing plants into jars so they could get readings on them. You know why? Because they're fucking Jedi! Yeah. You can feel it. When there's a lot of Force energy. When there's not a lot of Force energy, Luke and Leia can feel each other across the galaxy. Yeah. Okay? The Force binds us, goes through us, is around us. You may have heard this before. And I bring this up because we're told the only reason these Jedi are even on the planet where these witches are is because there might be what they are calling a vergence.
Vergence of the Force.
A vergence is just where 2 points in the Force converge. It's a really, really clever name. Somehow, the Jedi who are on this planet, because this planet used to be a barren wasteland and is now very, very fertile and growing all kinds of fruit and trees and everything and animals, suddenly this planet's all good. So they gotta check it out. But they're not good Jedi. So it's not like they can just sense that the Force is here, because they're terrible Jedi. Yeah. And so we get to have the introduction of tricorders into Star Wars. And finally!
Even in this show, there's already proof that droids exist.
Yeah.
Droids are what do that work. Yeah. Not super powerful fucking Jedi.
Why is this a thing at all?
Yeah.
At at all. This is some bullshit.
Yes. When they get to the planet, every single Star Wars ship has sensors.
Yes!
That can detect life forms and structures.
And
They've
electricity.
said it in multiple movies. And electricity.
We're told in Ahsoka that they have to shut off the droid for extended periods of time along with the ship so that the people scanning the planet can't see them.
Yeah. But so the Jedi, when they get to this planet, they don't see this mountain-sized structure and can gauge all of the life forms that are in it.
Well, and then when they go to it, fucking Torben is like, oh, this must be from a mining colony. You just said the planet was desolate. That's why you're here. What are you talking about?
Dude, Torben, I can't with Torben in this episode. It's like, I didn't realize that a Jedi who at his age is coming to the end of his training.
He should be
not
done.
new into training, should be done, is the whiniest little bit.
I want to go home.
Oh, I don't even know why
and
we're
maybe
here.
I want to have sex. And I kind of have some mommy issues. But mostly I want to go home. Because I'm
unbearable.
bored.
Dude, so unbearable.
Awful.
So unbearable. I couldn't take it.
Awful shit.
It's like, it was worse than anything Anakin Skywalker in the prequels as far as whining. And it was like up there with Kylo Ren's whining and complaining. But you're like, dude, what are you doing?
But even that made sense within the context of the character. Kylo Ren, when we are introduced to him, the reason he's such a whiny baby is because he believes that is the connection to the dark side, is to just fully emote, to just run after every emotion he feels. So of course he's a whiny baby because he's always over emotional about everything because that's what he thinks is going to connect him to Darth Vader. What's Torben's excuse? Just being a shitty Jedi. Just he's a shitty Jedi. Shitty Jedi.
And I'm sorry, but after watching this episode and seeing what happens,
the quote-unquote
he
sin?
didn't do anything nearly as bad to kill yourself.
No! Why did he take he took an oath of silence and then killed himself.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to go home. And these witches killed themselves.
Yeah.
When they showed up. And,
oh my God. That's the worst.
But did they? Because we see the matriarch in episode 3. We see her body. But here, she gets stabbed and turns into smoke. What? First off, let me give some context for anybody who didn't watch the episode.
You didn't know the Force can turn you into smoke?
You know, they're discovering new things the Force can do every day. You know, it turns out 2 teaspoons of the Force can help re-level your liver, give your kidneys dialysis. Yes. It'll give you another heart ventricle. Like, you just got to put a little bit on top of your breakfast cereal every morning, and it will solve every problem you have. Unless one of those problems is picking up 2 children and levitating them towards you. Because that is impossible. Not even the Force can do that. God damn it. How could you be so blind as to believe the Force could do that? Context.
Deep breath.
So, the plot of this episode is the sin that we are kind of hinted to in episode 3.
Day 1.
There is no sin in this episode.
No.
Basically, the episode boils down to dumb Jedi who can't sense shit are on a planet for reasons related to them not being able to sense shit, but which is not part of the plot. That just happens to be the excuse for why everything happens. They're just bad Jedi.
Yeah.
So they're on this planet, blind as hell. Sol accidentally finds Osha at the tree. I want to note, they say that they haven't gone to the Northlands. Sol, you take the river, not to the Northlands. We're going to get there tomorrow. So they've just been in the general area of this coven. Couldn't sense it. Never saw it. Never scanned for anything. But man, have they been collecting plants. Oh, baby, we got samples. Oh, shit, dog. You think the astronauts brought moon rocks back? Holy shit. We got plants, baby.
We got ferns, Jedi ferns.
God damn it. We got so many. So Sol discovers these kids, and he follows them home. And he's like, oh, this is bad. And he goes back to the Jedi, and he's like, this is bad. And Trinity is like, it's not bad, and you're being impulsive. And you're taking your own emotion and projecting them on other people. Which he's definitely not.
Yeah.
Because Torben is sitting here being like, I don't like it here. And Sol's like, is this how you want to train him? And Trinity's like, man, this is how you're supposed to train a Jedi. And I was like,
yeah, this is why you don't have a Padawan.
This is dumb shit, guys. This is dumb shit.
Dumb.
So anyway, so Sol figures out where these witches are, sneaks into
Yes.
their house.
By climbing up the effing mountain faster than... I mean, they don't show him using, like, Jedi speed.
This is my thing. He could have climbed the mountain with force powers.
Yes.
With established force powers. But he doesn't. He climbs up it on his hands and knees. Why?
He's full cliffhanger Stallone.
Which no one could ever know. No one could ever know why they did it this way. Because it makes no fucking sense. No rational person would look at this and say, yes, this makes sense.
And it makes even less sense when him and Tobin came back and they have to climb it in a hurry.
Yeah, because it's on
to
fire.
Get up there. Yes. And they find a way to him and Torben climb this insane mountain in like minutes.
And they're fine. They're not tired. They're not Wesley where you've climbed the cliffs of insanity and it's just like, give me 5 minutes. And just, none of that shit. None of that fucking shit. They are ready to go because they are definitely competent Jedis. So Sol has one of those moments that you see in sitcoms where someone sees something out of context and thinks something else is going on. So he sees the girls, quote unquote, training, and he's like, oh, they're abusing these girls. We got to get them out of here. So he goes back to Trinity and is like, we got to test the girls. Trinity's like, fine. If it will shut you up, we'll go and we'll talk to them. And so they all go in, and there's this whole conversation about whether all 4 of them should go in, or maybe just Trinity should go in.
Oh my God.
And then Sol's like, fuck it, we're all going in. So they all go in. And then we see what happened. They interrupt this ceremony, and they have better sense than I do, so they can clock the difference between Osha and May. How? Not entirely sure. Because by the time they show up, May's bangs are already covering the symbol on her forehead. But fuck it. That doesn't matter, because fuck you. Star Wars doesn't need to make sense.
But see, they can figure it out until the ending climax, when Saul can't tell the difference between the two of them, even though he has such a strong connection to Osha.
He just knows she's his Padawan. He
absolutely
knows, like, deep down. But before we get there, we have to have Torben have his little mommy moment, where the matriarch is just kind of circling around him.
Yeah.
Kind of like being like, what, you want to ask me something? You want to ask me something? Come on, ask me, come on, ask. And then he doesn't ask a question. He says, I want to go to Coruscant. That's not a question. She keeps on saying, ask me your question. You have a question, ask me your question. And I'm just like, is the question, can I fuck you? Because that genuinely seems to be the feel of this whole thing. Because she's talking about like giving in to your deeper desires and not cutting yourself off from life, and how the Jedi way isn't the right way. And I'm just like, she wants to fuck this teenager. I don't know why, but clearly she wants to fuck this teenager.
She must be a Game of Thrones fan.
Right? So she saw him take that faceplant out the window and was like, that's the guy for me.
If you did that for Natalie Dormer, you'll do anything for me. So
this is what he sees when she's in his head. And then that scene ends. And they all go back to camp. And then they test the girls. May purposely flubs the test. And we're all like, wow, shocker. And Sol's like, oh, we're going to do a different thing with Osha. And Trinity's like, fine, if it'll shut you up. Basically, that's Trinity's whole thing. It's just like, Sol wants to do something, he pesters her and pesters her and pesters her, and then she's like, fine, if it will shut you up, then we'll do it.
Great leader.
And so she calls the council, and the council says Mace Windu's favorite thing.
Go fuck yourself. Yeah.
You're too old, so you can't be a Jedi because you're too old. You're too old to start. No. And so, which, you hear that a lot. It's weird.
Yeah,
it's weird how often you hear that.
I'm tired of that.
Because it seems like, call me crazy, all the kids that we've seen that are Force sensitive are like about the same age as Osha and May. So when do you start your Jedi training? When you're 4? When you're 2? Like, what? Is there a nursery on Coruscant in the temple somewhere that we aren't aware of? What is the best premium age for someone to be a Jedi? Because I'm getting confused.
It's annoying. It really is getting annoying.
They take a blood sample, which will come up later. Osha has her moment, but Trinity's like, you were leading the witness, so she didn't pass. Okay. I mean, she did pass. She still was able to use the Force to see things on this paddle. So even if he told her to calm down and do what she wants, that has nothing to do with her being able to use the Force. Yeah, the whole leading
thing was annoying.
It just shows that she can still use the Force. But fine. Trinity says no. Well, then the blood samples come back from the lab. And having watched a lot of medical shows in my time, there's just a wonderful moment of somewhere between science fiction higgledy-piggledy and medical gobbledygook.
Yeah.
Where they just slam these things together and they say their M numbers are off the chart. And what's this?
And it's like, you can't say Mediclorians?
The symbiotes on them are exactly the same. Well, but they're twins. The symbiotes would be similar. No, these are exactly the same. It's like they're one person in 2 bodies?
That look completely different.
And I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? So your solution to Mediclorians was to triple down.
Yeah.
We're going to have Mediclorians, but then we're going to introduce another thing on top of that. And that's going to be used as a springboard to get us to the finale of the episode. Mm-hmm. Because now Torben's like, this is proof, we can go home if we get the girls. So he just takes off. He's gonna go get the girls.
When he takes off and jumps on their retro speeder bike, I'm like, okay, the other 3 are Jedi Masters.
Yeah.
They can't use the Force to stop him in any way.
Oh.
Stop the speeder bike.
Listen, you can only catch people and pull them with the Force when Miss Headland says that you can do that.
I'm like, we've seen Vader pull a spaceship out of the sky.
We saw Trinity catch a guy who's falling off of a balcony in the first episode of this series. We've seen people use the Force to pull people around in this show. But and this will come up again later. They keep forgetting that they can do that.
It's annoying as hell.
It's more than annoying.
When he sped away, I was like, how the fuck are they not using the Force to stop him?
This is fucking sacrilege. Like, this is terrible.
Oh, it's terrible. It's so bad.
So Saul goes after Torben. Meanwhile, May has set the fire. And the reason it gets so out of control, even though it's a giant stone building, is because it gets to the electrical system and starts shorting out the electrics. The electrics that they couldn't scan for when they didn't scan the planet and had to collect plants instead.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure. There is electricity.
There is full-fledged electricity in that building.
So they could have scanned for them.
Yes.
Okay.
But even that, like, man, electrical fires still need burnable materials to start a fire.
Even if you just said that it got to a fuel cell, I'd be like, okay, fine.
Yeah,
but
exactly. Exactly.
You just see some cables sparking in this, like, it looks like when you pop open an elevator door to get at the cables. It's like, like this little panel's open, and now there's this fire, and maybe oil, even though the oil's only on the ground, somehow the fire is crawling up the wall. I don't know why. I don't know how. That's not important. This is fucking Star Wars. You think things have scientific meaning? No.
No, they
We're going to invent science and then have it have no meaning. So Sol and Torben climb the tower. Meanwhile, not Darth Maul, Mama Maul, has decided that she wants to fight. And so she's going to pick a fight with these Jedi. She's not going to use her Force powers. She's going to use her spear against these Jedi.
Yeah.
Not the Force. Oh, excuse me. She can't use Force powers.
Thread.
She doesn't know how to use Force powers. She follows the thread.
Yes. And the thread is not used for violence.
Except unless it is.
Unless it is.
Like when you're pushing over your children using the Force, you don't use the thread for violence until you use the thread for violence.
And then Mama Maul attacks May to get her to
well, she convinces May.
Vicious.
She's like, May, get angry. You should be angry. Give in to your anger. And so May goes off and sets this fire. And then when Torben and Sol arrive, Mama Maul decides to fight them, but Sol won't fight her back. Oh, wait, I skipped an important thing, which is that the matriarch, Ananissa, I guess the threat is dramatically different because at one point she seemed like she was going to merge with the girls and she just starts turning into smoke. And then the girls start turning into smoke. And we were told that the girls were going to be the next leader of the coven. So it's like, is this the end goal? Why are they twins then? I don't understand. I've seen this story too.
And that's the part that pissed me off is that's the scene where it's Osha is still trapped in a room.
Yeah.
And it's May that runs out and starts to be dematerialized, let's say, for lack of a better term. And Saul turns and yells, Osha! And it's like, you have this deep connection to this girl, and I'm sorry, those two girls do not look enough alike to confuse them. And you're going to be like, oh, that must be Osha.
They're terrible Jedis. They're the worst really Jedis.
Terrible. It's the worst writing. It's so
terrible
bad.
Writing. He can't tell his own head from his ass.
No.
And so
he stabs Smoke.
Pointlessly stabs the matriarch for no reason.
But once again, though,
he's surprised when he does it.
She's completely smoke in the area. Like, he stabs her through the midsection, which is completely smoke at that point.
Yeah.
But for some reason, the lightsaber forced her to reform around it, which killed her.
Yes. So now she's dead.
But
she's not dead in the place or form that we see her dead.
Not even remotely.
Earlier in the series.
No, because she's with all the other witches.
She's on the rooftop.
Yeah.
And then in episode 3, she's in that main hall where all these witches are dead.
Yes.
Which it turns out they all die because they're all working together to control the Wookiee. And so they're like, here, a Wookiee Jedi lightsaber fight. Isn't this good? Doesn't this make you happy? No. Because you had metal detectors in this episode.
Yeah.
You think I forgot about the metal detectors and the ferns? No. This is terrible. And now you're just insulting me by giving me this.
Yeah.
Fuck off. You have this stupid fight. And then Trinity comes in and she is able to free the Wookiee. And somehow by freeing the Wookiee, all the witches die.
That was the dumbest fucking thing.
Like, I don't know if they were dead or not, but we see them all dead later. So I have to presume that when she severs this connection, all the witches die?
It was like in Phantom Menace when they destroy the control ship and all the droids just stop. That's what it looked like. They were all just like,
But that still made more sense.
It made a ton more sense than this. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, at first I was looking around like, what is going on? Did they really just, like, all die? For no reason.
I didn't think they were dead, but they never came back. And the next time we see them canonically is when Sol and Osha are running through that room and they're all dead. So that's the last time we see any of them. And no one goes over and kills all of them. So they all just die? Oh, but I forgot Mama Maul might still be around because she did do a whole smoke and disappear thing.
Yes, but I didn't want to rewatch it because it would absolutely kill me watching it a third time. But I kind of remember in episode 3 when they're running through and you see all the bodies, wasn't her body one of the ones?
I think so. I think
it was. And so it's like, okay, did she reform out of the smoke and then just drop dead or pretend to be? I don't get any of that.
Well, these are the same witches that have decided the best way to attack Jedi is with bows and arrows.
Yeah.
This is a great idea.
Yeah.
This is a great idea.
Helm's deep against the Jedis.
So now Torben is scarred because the Wookiee grabbed his face, And I guess he's scarred emotionally because he wanted to go home, and now all these people are dead, and he's going to blame himself for that, even though it doesn't make any sense.
It's so dumb.
It's a drastic leap in logic to go there, but sure.
Especially because in reality, when him and Saul get to the fortress, Saul could have stopped him. So it wasn't Torben's call anymore. Like, he didn't just go in. But the place was already on fire, so they went up to save the girls. So it's not like he did anything to cause the fire or what eventually happened. He and Saul legitimately were going up there to try to save the girls, not to steal them away like his initial thought was. So that should have gotten away all of his guilt on top of it.
He didn't kill a single witch in that entire place.
He just got his ass kicked by everybody.
Like, the most he did was spin his sword around to deflect arrows. And by deflect, I mean destroy. So we have the scene where Sol is running and he sees Osha and May and they're reaching for each other and their platforms are falling. And Sol, being the creative Jedi that he is, sees the platforms falling. And rather than try to grab the girls, who are probably around, let's say, 70 pounds apiece, he's going to grab the 500-ton structure that they're standing on, and he's going to lift that up with the Force. Oh, but it's so heavy. Oh, it's too heavy. Even for a Jedi like him, as strong as he is, he can't. He just can't hold it. Oh, sorry, May. I'm going to drop you because I have this connection to Osha. So now May falls, and then Osha falls, and he still doesn't catch her with the Force. He reaches out and grabs her with his hand. You are the worst Jedi! You are the worst Jedi! Bar none! By far the worst Jedi I've ever met! By far!
It's so bad.
This makes Ezra Bridger look like a fucking Jedi master!
Yes.
This is shit, dude! This is bull.
No, it's really bad.
Shit!
Like, I'm almost anticipating, because the 8th episode's the final episode. This new one coming up tomorrow. I'm actually anticipating it because it's kind of like that whole saying where you can't stop looking at a car crash. This is a full-on multi-car pile-up crash with the crescendo being a semi-truck coming up behind them, and that's episode 8. I can't anticipate it more, knowing that it's gonna make me sad because it's gonna be terrible.
This is the first 30 minutes of Final Destination 2. Like, that's what this show is. And you're just waiting for that giant log truck
coming for all of us,
barreling down. And you're just, because, like, I was sitting here the whole time being like, well, maybe when we get to the sin of the show, something will shake loose, right? Some element of this will finally align, and I'll finally be able to be like, okay, I see what you're doing. I disagree with how you're doing it, but I see what you're doing. No. No logic, makes no fucking sense. This was the big reveal of the show, and it makes no fucking sense.
No.
So what am I supposed to do?
There truly is nothing now at this point that can be done to not make this the worst, probably Star Wars thing ever made.
This is worse than Solo, which is shocking. Shocking. Because Solo still had some elements that were good, but they were far overshadowed by Han Solo. I have no people.
No, to me, that wasn't even to me, that wasn't the worst Star Wars movie. It was Rise of Skywalker. And this is worse than that.
See, that was worse for me.
That's an unbelievable mess.
Because that was full desecration of what we knew. Rise of Skywalker was just a letdown after trying to make a new series. It was like, this is the end of the series? This is bullshit.
Yeah.
The Knights of Ren mean nothing, and Captain Phasma means nothing, and the entire New Order means nothing? What's the point of all of this? What was the point of all of this? Yeah. This is just a Star Wars pastiche.
It's so bad.
But
train wreck central.
This is by far the worst, and you know it's the worst because they signed it with a 90s R&B over the credits song. Holy shit!
Was that?
Holy shit! What's happening?
Dude, I when I heard that, I thought I made a mistake.
I burst out laughing.
My iPod was playing.
I was like, there's no fucking way.
Yeah.
This is like the 90s, like if you go through and you watch the credits for Pocahontas or Hunchback of Notre Dame. What is this? And why is it
so bad
here? And the lyrics are hilariously bad. Oh my God. Everything about it is bad. Holy shit.
And you talk desecration. To me, the only thing that I've ever appreciated as much as everyone else who's a Star Wars fan, me not being a Star Wars fan, but the thing I appreciated as much is the music.
Yeah.
The music in Star Wars is unabashedly, even the Phantom Menace, which is terrible.
It's the best part of the Phantom Menace.
Duel of Fates.
The music is the best part of the Phantom Menace.
Oh, by far.
It's better than the pod race. It's better
part.
than anything else. It's the only redeeming part of Attack of the Clones. And even then, it's still not great.
But it's still good. And it's like, dude, that's like the final nail in the coffin of I don't care about anything that's happened over the last 50 years with this franchise. I don't care. This is how it's going to be from now on. And if you don't like it, you don't like women, and you don't believe in change. It's like, no. You can't do this.
You can't change the rules. My issue isn't the woman who's changing the rules being a woman. My issue is the person, whoever they are, coming in and saying, fuck your 40 years of history because I'm not doing it. And like, if we're going to try and cover Rebel Moon Part 2 on this as well. But that at least is pretending to be Star Wars, but has the decency not to call itself Star Wars.
Exactly. And I'm glad you brought that up because that's what they need to do from now on. If you want to make a science fiction movie and make it, whatever. I know she keeps saying there's no message to it regardless. If you want to make it the way you want to make it, just don't take a franchise that people love and then do it to that and then be mad when they're mad about it. It's like, do your own thing. No one got mad at Zack Snyder for making the Rebel Moon movies. No. They're just not great.
They're just kind of boring.
They're kind of boring, but they're different. At least, like you said, at least they're different.
They're interesting. There's interesting things in there.
Yes.
And it's not Star Wars. There's not some Force equivalent in Rebel Moon. There are people that fight with swords that light up red and blue, but there's no like, I'm going to use the Force to do this thing. I'm going to use the Force to read this person's mind. I'm going to use the Force to be able to tell what's going to happen. It's more of a science fiction story. It's somewhere between Star Wars and Dune. And this has the audacity to call itself Star Wars and then fully blow off every piece of history that has come before it. And then tell us that we're bigots for not liking it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not a bigot. No. I have standards. Your show sucks. If your name was Henry Johnson, your show would still suck. If you were 7 foot and had a giant dick, your show would still suck.
Why you gotta talk about me like that?
That doesn't have anything to do with the quality of your show. The fact of the matter is, you came in, thought you were smarter than everybody else about Star Wars, decided to trash everything that makes Star Wars what it is, and say we're going in a new direction, and then put your name all over it. So, yeah, you get the blame when it's a giant fucking trash pile on fire.
Exactly. All right, so let's move on. We got one more of those awful episodes. We're going to finish that off next weekend, and I can't wait